Hello and welcome. This is the Zen community of Oregon, making the teachings of the Buddha Dharma accessible to support your practice. New episodes air every week.
I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in Sangha. This is Light of the Ancestors, Sesshin 2025, Talk 2. Thank you for coming together and practicing what is rare to practice. We are at the beginning of our sesshin, well underway. What brought you here? What brings you here? What mysterious workings of cause and effect have brought us together in this time and place? Speaking of this time and place, one of our dedications in service goes, the vows of our ancestors continuously manifest in this time and place. How is that so? How might that be true? How might the vows of your ancestors continuously manifest in this time and place? In your body, in your mind, in your heart, what vows were made a long time ago that are manifesting right here and now? And as practitioners of Zen, we also have our ancestors, our Zen ancestors. How do their vows continuously manifest in this time and place, moment after moment? How might that be true? Light of the ancestors, light, transmission of the light, transmission of the lamp, luminosity, enlightenment, luminous throughout the whole universe. What is this light woven through our practice, woven through the way that we talk about our practice, the way that we hear about, the way that the Dharma has been pointed to? And by Dharma, meaning truth, the way the truth is pointed to through thousands of years. What is this light? We are here in Sesshin, engaging in a ceremony, a ritual, an enactment of collective awakening. And for 1,000 years, it's been done much like this. People have gathered to come home to themselves, practice the Zen way, to come home to themselves, to come home to yourself, to awaken to true nature. And those who have gone before we call ancestors. Those who have handed the tradition and teachings warm hand to warm hand are ancestors. Most are completely unknown to us. Completely unknown to us. We revere the ancestors that we chant, the lineage during morning service, the generations of practitioners from Shakyamuni Buddha, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, 2,500 years, a staggering amount of time. That is like the Iron Age. That's how long ago that is. And that passing through time is depicted as transmission of light, passing along of light. One of the images that evokes this is a candle. And if you have candle, you're holding a candle and it's lit, and somebody has another candle, and you hold the flame to the wick of the other candle, it ignites. And is that light the same or different? It's the same and different. It's not the same and it's not different. So we chant the lineage as a way to acknowledge this inheritance. And as you chant the lineage, you might turn your mind to those who are unknown to us, who gave their lives to the Dharma for our present benefit, as the Eno will say. And you might bring to heart and mind, if you have that kind of imagination, to picture those who practiced around these eminent teachers, supported them, practiced side by side with them, are represented by them. And we will be ancestors too. We will be ancestors too. So as we practice this week, who are ancestors and what is this light? Can be questions to carry ancestors. They're not just the lineage, and they're not just our relatives. Allowing ancestors to be more and more inclusive, just like not just the lineage, but who else was there, is there. Kisei brought forward this beautiful koan, Bluecliff Record, Case 86. Yunmen imparted some words saying, everyone has a light. When you look at it, you don't see it, and it's dark and dim. What is everybody's light? Everyone has a light. What is this? Is this true? Is this true? Everyone has a light. And what is this light? As Kisei said in her opening talk, this light is a pointer to awakened nature, Buddha nature, enlightened nature. that this is our truth. In the Song of Zazen, Hakuin Zenji says it like this: from the beginning, all beings are Buddhas, like water and ice. Without water, no ice. Outside us, no Buddhas. Buddhas are not outside us. How near the truth, yet how far we seek. Like water, one in water crying, I thirst. I thirst. Without exception, the ancestors say that we are this Buddha nature. Not have it. It's not going to be the result of our practice. It's not something that we're going to get. Not something that we have and just need to look at, that we are it. They say it without exception. Here's a modern teacher, Harada Tangen Roshi, who's a Soto teacher, who, just to place him in time, he was a young man during World War II. And he talks about inherent Buddha nature. So here's a modern master and the way that he expresses it. Now, he says, this wonder is right here, right now. All beings are Buddha, endowed with Buddha wisdom, Buddha virtue. These words do not imply that someday in the future we will be endowed with Buddha wisdom. Now, as you are, as it is, all beings are Buddha. All things are one Buddha mind alone. All phenomenon are sacred forms of this true life. Life arises and takes form in accordance with karmic causes and conditions. A sound is made, it reverberates, it is heard. It is so simple. You can hear, you can see, it's very straightforward, very honest. However it appears and whenever it appears, this is Buddha mind. All phenomenon, everything is perfectly honest. The way, the Buddha way, your true mind, Buddha heart is absolutely perfect, flawless. It has no birth and death. It cannot be conceived through the discriminating intellect. No one is cut off, isolated, and apart from the whole. There is no distance. Everything is perfectly honest. I loved that him putting it that way, something really was touching to think about that this coming home is about becoming more and more honest, about the way things are. You're thinking about the things that we might believe about ourselves and about the world, that that ignorance is or the way in which we criticize ourselves or the way that we judge ourselves, it's dishonest. There's a part of it, even if we believe it, it doesn't mean it's true. And there's something in us that knows that it's not true. But for some reason, we just keep on believing it. Ancient karma, our own mistake. And this isn't a pejorative. It's about aligning with truth. And isn't that honesty? And to think that this is honest. That reality is not a trick. It's not something that's happening to us. It's totally honest. So Dogen puts it this way, as we read in the instructions to Zazen, the Fukan Zazengi, the way is originally perfect and all-pervading. How could it be contingent on practice and realization? The true vehicle is self-sufficient. What need is there for special effort? Again, like one in water crying, I thirst. Indeed, the whole body is free from dust. Who could believe in a means to brush it clean? It is never apart from this very place. What is the use of traveling around to find it? This is as Hakuin would say 500 years later, from the beginning all beings are Buddhas. But if this is so, what is there to be done? What is there need for special effort, as Dogen says? This was Dogen Zenji's question, his great question that spurred him on in his spiritual journey, and took him from being from a Tendai monk on Mount Hiei to going to a Rinzai monastery, to making the trip to China. If the beginning we are whole and complete, if the beginning all beings are Buddhas, why do we have to practice? And yet, if there's Dogen says in the Fukan Zazengi, if there's a hair's breadth deviation, it is like the gap between heaven and earth. If the least like or dislike arises, the mind is lost in confusion. If there's a hair's breadth deviation, and that hair's breadth deviation is the liking and disliking, the habitual mind of like and dislike, judgment, reactivity, the mind is lost in confusion. It doesn't say we move away from Buddha nature, it just says that deviation is what, he says it is like the gap between heaven and earth. It's not that an actual fissure between us and awakened nature opens up. And he goes on to say that it's not just us. We're not unique failures. All sages and wise ones had to practice to realize this. He said, even consider the Buddha, although he was wise at birth, the traces of his 6 years of upright sitting can yet be seen. And Bodhidharma, the first ancestor in China, the figure in the ancestor room in the back corner, the big scroll, Bodhidharma, the first ancestor in China, although he had received the mind seal, although he had, basically his teacher had said, you have my recognition of seeing the truth. His 9 years of facing a wall is celebrated still. If even the ancient sages were like this, how can we today dispense with wholehearted practice? Now, in a way, This is like preaching to the choir. Everyone here is engaging in wholehearted practice. You wouldn't come to a sesshin if you didn't already know this, right? Of course we know we need to engage in wholehearted practice. And there is that part that sometimes, something is wrong. But really, you understand this already. You know this already. For many of us, the endeavor of wholehearted practice, the engagement in it is already pretty clear. It's the Buddha nature part that we have some doubts about. Not quite so sure about that. Yunmen imparted some words saying, everyone has a light. When you look at it, you don't see it, and it's dark and dim. What is everybody's light? Can you see this light in others? Maybe that's a way. Maybe that's a beginning. Maybe that's an entrance gate. Maybe you've met someone and can see their light, inspired by their presence, their kindness. Or we've read the stories of the Zen ancestors or other spiritual adepts, stories of awakening ones, and they point to something, and we say, there's something inside us that says, yes, yes, yes. There's a recognition. And this recognition suggests that we too have it, are it. We see what we are reflecting back to us. Two mirrors facing each other. Universe, recognizing universe. When you look at it, you don't see it, and it's dark and dim. Yunmen says, when you look at it, you don't see it, and it's dark and dim. What is that? What is that about? How is this? When you look at it, you don't see it. What does that mean? The kind of looking at it that Yunmen is talking about is the making of Buddha nature a thing, of true nature a thing, this thing I have to find, something outside, something I have to get rid of in order to realize. The more we make a thing of ourselves that we measure ourselves against, or some standard, the further we are from seeing it, the darker, the more dim. So what are ways that we make ourselves into a problem, something to be fixed? What is everybody's light? Yunmen asks. The koan goes on to say, he himself answered on their behalf. The kitchen pantry and the main gate. What is everybody's light? The kitchen pantry and the main gate, he answered for them. Totally ordinary, the kitchen pantry. The kitchen pantry and the main gate, totally ordinary and right here, nowhere else. the kitchen pantry and the carafe of coffee. Totally ordinary. Dogen says, why leave behind the seat in your own home to wander in vain through the dusty realms of other lands? If you make one misstep, you stumble past what is directly in front of you. So Dogen is saying the same thing about it being right here. Stumble past what is directly in front of you. Natural, it's totally natural, not contrived. You don't make it. So this is another important thing that this is about naturalness. Harada Tongan was saying honesty, naturalness. In the Fukan Zengi, when Dogen says, if you grasp the point, you are like a dragon gaining the water, like a tiger taking to the mountains. So this is Dogen expressing in a poetic way naturalness. In Chinese legends, dragons were creatures of the water. So a dragon taking to the water is coming home. A tiger taking to the mountains is coming home to itself. Dogen says, for you must know that the true Dharma appears of itself. It's not lit, it's luminous. And everyone has this light, is this light. But we have to practice. How do we practice? Well, Dogen gives us a number of instructions in the Fukan Zazengi. Let's see how we do. Practicing Zen, a quiet room is suitable. Check. Eat and drink moderately. Check. Put aside all involvements and suspend all affairs. All of you have taken the time to step out of our ordinary interactions and our obligations and have suspended all our affairs to take up this practice. Harder to do with cell phone coverage. And this is a way to set aside all involvements and suspend all affairs. Not engaging in social media, not engaging in news. Spreading out a thick mat and a round cushion, sit in either full lotus or half lotus position. Well, Dogen, we're gonna do some other ones too. So we got that and more. Okay. So he goes on to give instructions about aligning the body. The interesting thing, and I hope that you, as we go through the Fukan Zazengi for the rest of the week, take notice about how Dogen talks about the body. He doesn't spend much time at all talking about what you do with your mind. I mean, he does, and we'll get into that, but he spends a lot of time talking about the body. And for those of us who are trained, developed our thinking, our planning, our creativity, our wondering, our fantasy, our remembering. And then so we're already mind focused. And so it's important to remember that Zazen is a body practice. It is a body practice. So he talks about how to align the spine, how to find center, rocking the body back and forth. And if you do that, your body ends up being like a pendulum. And you find center forward and back. You come to the Zendo early, take up this practice. He talks about how to align the shoulders and the nose and navel. He talks about where to put the tongue. All about the body. Aligning the body. How to put the hands in the mudra. Being with the body, practicing body as body, breath as breath, simple. And then, now once the body is in the posture, then what? Relaxing the body, relaxing, relaxed yet alert. You align the body, and then allow the skeleton to hold the body. Relaxing the body on the out-breath. Softening the body from the inside. It's not something we impose on the body. Oh, the body is tense. We need to relax it. Softening it from the inside. Invitation for the body to soften, bit by bit, gradually. There's a Tibetan teacher, B. Alan Wallace, who Jogan had taken a class with, and Alan Wallace said that he said especially Americans are so tense. He said if it were up to him, he would spend the first 5 days of the retreat, everybody lying down. So we carry this tension of heart, mind, and of course the body is affected. The mind tense, the body tense. So bit by bit we soften both. Soften all. Heart, mind, body. Relaxing, yet alert, present. So another dialogue with Yunmen. A monk asked him about how to practice. This might be somebody somebody who really wants to get it right in sesshin. A monk asked Yunmen, how should one act during every hour of the day such that the ancestors aren't betrayed? Think this monk's a little tight? The monk asked Yunmen, how should one act during every hour of the day such that the ancestors aren't betrayed? And this is, how do I practice Bansho said I should practice wholeheartedly. How should I practice wholeheartedly every hour of sesshin? And this is a wonderful question. And Yunmen says, give up your effort. How should one act during every hour of the day such that the ancestors aren't betrayed? Yunmen said, give up your effort. The monk said, how should I give up my effort? Yunmen said, Give up the words you just uttered. How should I give up my effort? Give up the words you just said. So, relaxing the body bit by bit, softening from the inside. And then, of course, we have this mind that's a tangle of thoughts and opinions. How do we work with our mind? In the Fukan Zazengi, Dogen says, in terms of working with the mind, after talking about the body, he says, do not judge true or false. And this not judging true and false points to the mind picking and choosing, the discriminating mind, liking and not liking. Do not judge. Give up the operations of mind, intellect, and consciousness. Stop measuring. Stop measuring with thoughts, ideas, and views. Stop measuring. Measuring ourselves, measuring our sesshin, measuring our meditation period, measuring our kinhin, having opinions about food, having opinions about the weather. Just stop. Stop. Easier said than done. Bit by bit, soften. Bit by bit, soften our measuring with thoughts. Let go of the entanglements of the mind. Nothing, noticing and letting go. Noticing and letting go. Noticing and letting go. How should I give up my my effort? How do we let go? How do we let go of our measuring and opinions and views? How do we disentangle the mind? How do we disentangle ourselves from the activities of the mind? One is when we notice ourselves becoming entangled in the activities of the mind, is how then we are creative in enlarging our experiencing. The experiencing is happening, but our view becomes closed, becomes narrow. And so we notice that happens, and then we can enlarge our view by including the body in our experiencing. And the way that is done is intimacy. We become intimate with our moment-by-moment experiencing. Intimate with our moment-by-moment experiencing. And as we become more and more intimate, we are less and less entangled. And the less and less entangled we are, the more intimate we can become. This is a dynamic, cycle's not even the right word, dynamic interaction, inter-experiencing. Zazen is about intimacy with our moment-by-moment experiencing. So, a wonderful koan from our ancestors about this is from the Book of Serenity, Case 20. At the foot of a lonely mountain, there was a small temple. There, a pilgrim looked to get out of the rain. It was getting dark and more difficult to find the way. The pilgrim knocked on the door and was greeted by an old abbot. He made the visitor tea and they sat down. The old abbot Dizang asked the pilgrim, Fayan, where are you going? Fayan said, going around on a pilgrimage. Dizang said, what is the purpose of your pilgrimage? Fayan said, I don't know. Dizang said, not knowing is most intimate. Not knowing is most intimate. Becoming more and more intimate with the totality of our experiencing, bit by bit, breath, whatever is the way that you are practicing presence, breath, your body. This breath is intimate. This body is intimate. The sounds are intimate. This moment is intimate. And one way into this is this not knowing. Practicing freshness with each breath. The whole of experiencing is intimate, moment by moment. Yunmen imparted some words saying, everyone has a light. When you look at it, you don't see it and it's dark and dim. What is everybody's light? He himself answered on their behalf, the kitchen, pantry, and the main gate. He also said, a good thing isn't as good as nothing. He also said, a good thing isn't as good as nothing. Nothing is empty. Pure potential, pure not knowing. It's not filled up. So, being intimate with our moment by moment experiencing. Everyone has this light. You, me, the person sitting next to you, before, behind, left and right. And what we get to do as we practice together is to explore and just look. Just look. Where do you see light? Where do you see light? We can just test old Yunmen. He says everybody has this light. And if the mind comes up and says, oh, I'm not so sure, use it as an invitation. Look around. And this story has been, not only was it captured, but it's been carried for hundreds of years by others who said, yes, yes, yes. So we can take a leap of faith and at least practice our practice of presence, relaxing with alertness, presence, intimacy, and see what lights up. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Zen Community of Oregon podcast, and thank you for your practice. New episodes air every week. Please consider making a donation at zendust.org. Your support supports us.